Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with a spoiler video. The Ixalan spoilers are starting to trickle in. I know that a bunch of these have already been spoiled. I just didn't want to talk about spoiled or leaked cards, all the controversy surrounding that. I just thought I would completely avoid that entire mess. But now that they're officially spoiled, let's go ahead and talk about these cards. If you're here for Market Monday, it will be coming out. We're going to try to have a little bit of a Market Monday feel to this video too, because spoilers are a great time to think about cards that work with these in standard, and then you can pick up some cards that are low from, especially like the Kaladesh, Aether Revolt, Hour Devastation sets. I like Aether Revolt and Hour Devastation more than I like Kaladesh or the Amonkhet, just because there's more supply for first sets than there is second sets. And Aether Revolt and I think Hour Devastation are very, very underwhelmingly open. I think we're going through a kind of a bearish market when it comes to standard sets. I need to see the exact statistics, but it just seems to me that with all the other product out there, with Modern Masters this year, with a lot of the Commander products and just a ton of the box sets, there's a little bit of wallet fatigue, and I think it's really hit the kind of the booster pack openers. And I think especially with the Hour and the Hour Devastation and Aether Revolt, because a lot of products were released the same time period of those ones. So anyway, those are some great targets. If you look at Eldritch Moon, a lot of those cards went crazy. Looking at like Liliana and the Grim Flayer, after rotation occurred with them, and then became staples in the standard format. So we're going to look for opportunities like that. But Market Monday today is going to be focused on rotating cards that are modern staples and why you should be sinking a lot of money. You do have a window, probably about a year window, but right now you should definitely be looking for trades. Like people that are willing to trade their rotated cards, you can get like a 60-70% discount easily on people that are selling out of old standard, rotated standard, and into new standard. So if you pick up these particular cards that you're pre-released, they might be quite high. Trade them for cards from especially Oath of the Gatewash. And we'll get into that in the Market Monday episode. So anyway, let's just get right on to the spoilers. Waker of the Wilds is a 4-mana 3/3 Merfolk Shaman. When you put X+1 counters on target land you control, that land becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste. It is still a land. This is just a set too late, in my opinion. There's not any lands that animate now except for the desert land. This would have been, of course, really cool to put on a Shambling Vent, I believe, because it overrides the 0/0. So that +1/+1 counters stick on the creature. So if you would have put this on 2 counters on a Shambling Vent, for example, and then, well, I guess Hissing Quagmire would be a better example because it's in the same color. You put a few counters on that and then animate it. It becomes a Death Toucher. It gets a little bit bigger of a boost. Still an Advocate in the set would have worked with this. A lot of the cards that work with lands would have definitely worked with the Waker of the Wilds. What is cool is you can keep putting counters on that land. It doesn't like tell you that you can't. It's not a one time per use for a land. So you can put X+1 counters on target land, then the next turn you can do the exact same, then the next turn you can do that exact same, and it will always be that 0 elemental with counters that are going to continue to grow. So I do like this card. It is a bit of overcosted at 4 mana. Very clunky with that. Limited bomb for sure, and I don't think it's going to hold a very high price tag, but it's a very cool design. It is still in a format with the snake, so it will double the amount of counters. Well, or at least add 1. So if you were just to activate this for 3, for example, it actually put 2 counters on it. So if we do get animated lands in the set, or if there's any other things that really synergize with lands, then this could hit standard. But that 4 mana is really tough to justify, especially in like a Constrictor deck, because that's like Walking Ballista on 2 slot, and that is getting really close to Verder's Gearhulk at that point, or Bristling Hydra, and I just don't see Waker of the Wilds really replacing that slot. All right, Verdant Sun's Avatar, 7 mana for a dinosaur avatar. When it enters the battlefield, when either Verdant Sun's Avatar or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. I can see this in sideboards, but that's a hefty price to pay. for 7 mana. Of course, this might want to go in Trostani type decks and Commander. Commander, it could be a staple in life gain strategies. Mostly life gain strategies are in black and white, though. And yeah, it's fine in Trostani. But I think there's better things to do with 7 mana for sure. And Hour of Promise does curve into this, but better stuff than a 5/5 that gains life. Vanquisher's Ban, a 5 mana. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creature you control can get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, draw a card. Commander decks are going to love this, especially when you just got out of a tribal-based commander set. These are going to probably be $3 to $4 off the shelf, I would say. It's going to be the Anointed Procession of this set, that if it starts out low, pick these up, as it will increase in value, not decrease in value as more packs are opened. As every tribal commander deck is going to want this, so Krenko, all of the new commanders out of Commander 2017, but a bunch of the elf strategies. Yeah, it's gonna go on all the new pirate tribal decks that are going to be in Commander. All the dinosaur tribal decks are going to be in Commander. All the probably even Merfolk is going to get a tribe that's beyond just blue, like a blue-green Merfolk. We'll have to wait and see exactly what Commander decks pop up, but this is going to be a staple in it. Alrighty, Treasure Map, 2 mana, scry 1, 1 and tap, scry 1, put a landmark counter on Treasure Map. Then if there are 3 or more landmark counters, remove those counters and transform Treasure Map and create 3 colorless treasure artifact tokens that have sacrifice and add 1 mana to your mana pool. So yeah, it's very similar to like the Pyramid out of Kaladesh. So you'll sacrifice to get 3 that can then ramp, and then you also transforms from Treasure Map. So then if there are 3 more, remove those counters and transform treasure. Okay, so it transforms into a treasure cove that then can sacrifice treasures to draw cards. So it turns treasures into clues. Well, allows you to sacrifice treasures. This card's interesting as it is something that can really enable Revolt, the treasure cove, but it takes a ton of work to get to that point. And I'm under the impression it might just be too much work. You do get a scry, which is nice. And then you get 3 treasures as well as a treasure cove that then can start drawing you cards. So is this like a Phyrexian Arena in Standard? To me, it's a ton of work. A Braid is still in the format. Is it playable? Absolutely. Limited, great. Yeah, I think this will see play, but it's going to require an absolute monumental amount of work to make this worthwhile. If Treasure Cove was just something that could come into play as a land, this would be just a very, very good card. But as that, you have to wait 3 turns, you have to have a lot of build-up and then treasures afterwards. I don't know, maybe I'm underestimating this card. Takes that pivotal turn 2, starts taking your mana on turn 3, 4, and 5. Late game, it will just take too long, I would say, to really get going. Yeah, I don't know. Not a fan of this card. All right, the Tilonali's Skin Shifter. Human Shaman for 0/1 haste. Whenever it attacks, it becomes a copy of target non-legendary attacking creature until end of turn. Unfortunately, this wanted to be with Hanwar Garrison, so that would have been very, very good with Hanwar Garrison. It can copy a bunch of cool... Oh, no. It would miss that trigger. Yeah, it wants to have some sort of when it deals combat damage. So what is either a big creature, non-legendary creature right now in the format that when it deals combat damage, it does something? Especially a 2-drop. It wants to copy a 2-drop on turn 3 that doesn't have an attack or enter the battlefield trigger. Either has a lot of damage production or, and I'm not really thinking of many, like a Long Tusk Cub. Long Tusk Cub's okay, but yeah, because it gets the energy off of it. Yeah. It needs to have a clone effect, so it really wants a 2-drop that it can copy, and then it wants a 4-drop that it can copy. Both of those are where it wants to be. And so there are a few good ones at the moment, but it misses triggers like Glorybringer, and it misses Enter the Battlefield triggers as well. So I think this is going to be a lot of work to get it going. It can't like copy some of the gods either, because this would work pretty well with Ronus and Hazaret, but of course it would kill those. So with the legendary rule, so it has too much. Again, this is going to take a lot of work to really make it worthwhile. Still, the best card I can think of is like Longtusk Cub, and in red, like even Earthshaker Kenrit misses that trigger. That's an ETB effect, right? Yeah, and same thing with like I'm trying to think what other 2-drop they use at the moment, and there's just better things at a 3 that you can guarantee that it, like especially in red with the crop captain or the Minotaur that has the exert effect is just better at 3. Lots of things you can be doing that I think is just, yeah, it needs a good when it deals combat damage trigger. And then this card can be actually playable. We know this, like the Sun Petal Groves are coming back, all the allied colored ones, which is fine. They're good. They're really good in standard. So these have been printed a ton of times before, so you can find cheaper versions a lot of times from older sets. I think these are going to cap out at 2. Maybe the black-blue one. We'll look at the like Drowned Catacomb type cards, see if any of them actually hold any value. Possibly those can hold a little bit higher price tag. But this, I think they've been reprinted multiple times in core sets. Were they ever printed? I think it was M13 was the last one, or M14. I know they were during Scars of Mirrodin. I remember playing with these cards. Vraska's Contempt. Exile target creature or planeswalker and you gain 2 life. Instant speed. This is actually a pretty decent card. With 4 mana, it's just going to be much better than the one that we have at the moment, the Exile target God for 4 mana. This does require 2 black and 2, and typically removal spells want to be at the 3 mana. But if there ever is a planeswalker that is a big problem, this is much better than a sorcery speed 3 mana spell, in my opinion. You also do get to gain 2 life. The exile is also good. It doesn't have to destroy, so anything with indestructible, you can get around that. And so a bunch of the gods, this is great for those. It's great for pesky planeswalkers, so very good against Chandra. Very, very incredibly good against Chandra because you also negate kind of the 2 life that Chandra cost. So I do like this card a lot. They keep creeping back the removal. Would it be too powerful at 3? I mean, Hero's Downfall. Is Hero's Downfall just better than this? The 2 life is very relevant though. Yeah, it's a good card. Tocatli's Honor Guard. 2 mana, creatures in the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. This is going to be a great card in Modern. It's going to shut down my poor little Soul Sisters, so that's annoying. Shuts down many other cards, so Death and Taxes will probably want it. Does D&T actually run any ETB effects? Eldrazi and Taxes does with Wasteland Strangler, but a bunch of them, or is that a cast effect? I think Wasteland's an ETB. Yeah, Wasteland's an ETB. So this, yeah, Eldrazi Taxes doesn't want it, but I think the majority of Death and Taxes, just the white version, don't have Into the Battlefield triggers. Do they run like Flicker Wisp and those type of cards? Yeah, they do. But they could build it differently too, or at least put this in the sideboard and work around it, because this is it's Torp Orb on a creature, so it's going to be played with a lot of negative Enter the Battlefield effects that Torp Orb has seen before, where you can't. So you think of like all the Hunteds back in the day. It works very well with those. It's got a pretty decent body on it as a 1/3. In a defensive shell, that's what you want to see. So it's a great card for sure. Is there any standard negative Enter the Battlefield effects right now that this just can be used to your advantage? I think there actually is from both Amonkhet and Kaladesh, where they enter the battlefield and you have to do something like sack a creature or return it to its hand. Yeah, that's where this gets really, really strong, is paired with those type of cards. Tashana's Wayfinder. When Tishana's Wayfinder enters the battlefield, it explores. So explores says reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land, otherwise put a +1 counter on this creature. Then put the card back or put it into your graveyard. Wow, there's a lot of things going on with Explore. The graveyard makes it a lot more interesting. It's a set too late for a lot of the graveyard strategies, but we do have the Godpharaoh's Gift that still wants to utilize the graveyard. So that's pretty cool. It ends up being a 3/3. Is this worthwhile with the snake, green-black constrictor? Possibly, but this is Rishkar's slot. So it'd either ramp you, or not ramp, put a land in your hand, put a +1 counter on it, which then gets another one, or put a card into your graveyard if you don't want it. Again, with like Grim Flayer, this would have been a lot better. A lot of these cards, the Delirium-based strategies, the Prize Amalgam strategies are rotating out. There are still a few strategies that utilize the graveyard with the Kaladesh and anything that eternalizes is fine to throw in the graveyard. But really, it's just Godpharaoh's Gifts that people are running at the moment with any sort of graveyard-based strategy. We could see like some sort of refurbished strategy come back. You can throw an artifact in the graveyard through this. I'm sure there'll be better Explorer cards, though it looks like this is going to be a mechanic in the format. We have Tishana's Voice of Thunder, Legendary Merfolk Shaman, power and toughness equal number of cards in your hand. You have no maximum hand size. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each creature you control. So this is very similar to the Prime Speaker Zagana. And yes, it could go in a strategy, a Merfolk Tribal strategy, or just, I like this in Momer Vig. It easily could be a commander in its own right, in a kind of go wide based strategy. And green blue is notorious for that. Azuri might like this. Momer Vig. Momer Vig really likes this type of card because you can tutor it up and then draw a bunch of cards for creatures. Any sort of draw based strategy with creatures, and in this type of what are some other ones that actually, I'm trying to think of other commanders that go beyond it. Animar will probably like this. And Animar kind of gets weird because at this slot you have a lot of higher impact cards. I'll give it a go in Animar because it does what you want it to do, draws a bunch of cards, and by that point you have a lot of creatures out. So it should be a very, very sought after card for commander, but it probably should go down in value as a mythic. It'll start off pretty high and then go down. Suncrowned Hunters Enrage. Whenever Suncrowned Hunters is dealt damage, deals 3 damage to target opponent. This reminds me of the pig from Old Ravnica. Whenever it was dealt damage, deals damage to each player. So I love this in Nahab. I have a commander deck tech coming out with Nahab, so it will probably go in Nahab the Eternal because this is perfect. And whenever it is dealt any damage, deals 3 damage to target opponent. So right off the bat, it does have some synergy in standard with Walking Ballista. It allows your Walking Ballista to have a better outlet. It can also, anything that can just ping a creature besides Walking Ballista is pretty good. It doesn't care where the source comes from. And yeah, my Nahab deck's going to love this with Indestructibility and all the spells that deal damage to each creature and player. So I don't know if it wants it in Nahab though. At 6 mana, you want a lot of more high impact cards. Same thing in standard. Walking Ballista is cute with this card, but 6 mana is a lot to really, to invest. The 3 mana board wipe right now will not kill this and still do 3 damage to an opponent, so that's kind of fun. And Our Devastation at least will still do 3 damage to an opponent. I'm trying to think what other things would go well with this. There's got to be some other combos. I wonder if there's some sort of infinite whenever an opponent takes damage. If you can do something that then can loop with this. And in the history of Magic, I'm sure there's something. So put a +1 as a counter on a creature whenever a creature is dealt damage, and then Walking Ballista could go infinite, or an opponent's dealt damage. There's got to be something with this Suncrowned Hunters. Yeah. Comment section or write it down in the comment section below if you found something. Sunbird's Invocation. Whenever you cast a spell from your hand, reveal the top X cards of your library. X is that spells. Converted mana cost, you may cast a card revealed this way with converted mana cost X or less without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any random order. Storm type decks might want this. It X or less. That is pretty good because you can chain off with a bunch of ones. And yes, you could hit lands, and then that gets pretty tough to... I wonder if there's like a Charbelcher type strategy, a no land type strategy that you can ramp up in Legacy to 6 mana and then just start casting everything. Because this could even, yeah, it can cast all of your like Lotus Petals for free at that point, and then if you hit another one off the top, any 0 mana spells, it can... You do have to put, yeah, so it does put them at the bottom, so it can go through lands. I don't know if this is quite playable because we have a similar card to this. Oh, it's 7 mana. Whenever you cast, what is it out of Our Devastation? There's a 7 mana blue spell that's really powerful, but the problem is it's 7 mana. I'll try to brew around this because this seems insanely powerful. It's giving everything almost a cascade effect. Yeah, and then the higher mana cost you put into this card, the better it works for, because it's going to be very, like in Storm, for example, it's going to be tough to miss with even like a... So, for example, you cast a Manamorphose or an Anthem, so a Ritual. So Desperate Ritual, look at the top 2. If you miss a land, sure, you throw a land to you look at top 2 cards. One might be a land, but most likely one will be something else. So then you get like a Barrel or a Goblin Electromancer off of it, or another Anthem, or even at that point, even a Serum Visions, and that's cast for free. And you can keep that. That won't trigger off something, but you'll have mana from the Anthem to cast another spell from your hand that you just drew from one of your spells. I could see this chaining off quite easily with those type of effects, especially if you cast off of Sunbird's Invocation a Gifts Ungiven from your hand. That will find something. Oh, that will still find something with usually converted mana cost 2. You can find another Gifts though, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know. Beyond Storm though, this does get very interesting, and this will probably go in my Nahab deck, speaking of which, because I do want more draw spells. And so Nahab will be able to cast this and then go crazy with the Sunbird's Invocation. So I'll show you that deck tech. It's a sweet... Nahab is so fun. A lot of people are building it pretty bad in my opinion. But anywho, I like this card a lot. It's such a brewer's card. It'll probably make my top 10 list of cards I want to brew around. Alright, Shaper's Sanctuary. Shaper's Sanctuary, 1 mana. Whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. It reminds me of the card from Legacy, whenever your card is countered, draw a card. Has to go from your opponents. This card's absolutely sweet. This is such a good card against Torrential Gearhulk. This is going to be just pure gas. It's going to give the green-black Constrictor exactly what it wants. If the card gets Fatal Push, draw a card. If a card gets... It should start to get its value. I absolutely love this card. Yeah, this is a bomb. I think in Modern, too, this gets pretty good. You throw it in like an elf strategy in the side... It's a sideboard card for sure. But you just chuck it in, and then... I mean, it doesn't get around board wipes, but it's just... It's going to get 2 cards. It's going to replace itself very easily. Even if it draws 1 card, it replaced itself. It did its job. And Green-Black Constrictor is where I really like this card because you don't typically do much on your turn 1. You either go get a land or put a land into play tap. That's you know, the scenarios that you like in Green-Black Constrictor. Same thing goes with Temur Energy. Temur Energy doesn't do a lot on its turn 1. So this gives a perfect play on turn number 1. Insanely awesome card. I love this card. Anything that gives green the toolbox to fight against control, with the black-blue Torrential Gearhulk becoming a lot more prevalent. Yeah, it just really it makes their Grasp of Darkness and Fatal Push a lot worse because you're drawing a card off of that. You can still even Blossoming Defense after it. You still get to draw a card because it was targeted by an opponent, and you get to save it and draw a card. That seems kind of cool. I think it's going to be a great sideboard card. Sanguine Sacrament, X mana and two white. You gain twice X life. Put it on the bottom. This will be good for fighting those red decks. You spend it for 3, you get 2 mana or 2 life. You spend it for 4, you get 4 life. You spend it for 5, you get 6 life. It's quite weak. Even there's better cards of doing that, but the thing is, this scales, and it is instant speed as well, which is night and day above sorcery speed life gain. You do want to react. I don't see this doing much except for a sideboard. You could see some sort of Aethersphere Harvester or Aethersphere Reservoir deck wanting to use it. But I mean, you really need to start putting in. I mean, for 7 mana, you still only gain 10 life. 8 mana, that's where it starts to get nice. You gain 12 life. It really seems to be weak. Usually, life gain wants to do something besides just gain life. But I mean, it's definitely an option for sideboard. This is also not too terrible with the horse crested Sunmare, because it does give you for 3 mana ability to gain life at instant speed, which is nice. Ruin Raider, 3 mana raid at the beginning of your end step. If you attack to the creature, so raid is coming back. Reveal the top card of your library and put that card in your hand. You lose life equal to the card's converted mana cost. This card's great. This is a very, very good card. This is a draw spell for 3 mana. Yes, it can get fatal pushed quite easily and killed. But this, you can cast it after you attack. You don't have to do this. You don't have to cast this then attack. You attack, then cast this. So what's kind of cool is you attack with a creature, you bait out the removal spell, then you cast a Ruin Raider, and you reveal the top card of your library, put the card in your hand, you lose life. Yep, then you draw a card. So this is a really, really solid card for black. I like this again in the green-black Constrictor. Does it replace Rishkar, or just add to Rishkar, or possibly a sideboard to that? Very, very glint. The glint sleeve, the 2/1 menace dude works really good with that. You can start drawing a lot of cards. So there could be a mono black kind of control. Mono black, a lot of removal plus little creatures, and then later down the road, you can cast a big spell. I think this is a very solid card. Rootbound Crag, we know about it. River's Rebuke. 6 mana, return all non-land permanents target player controls to their owner's hand. Whoa! Whoa! Okay, this isn't a Cyclonic Rift for Commander, but this is still a pretty good... It's sorcery speed, though. That's the only thing that puts this back, but this is a blowout. This is a really solid card. It's going to see play in kind of the blue-black stall decks. So Mill will like this. I know that Mill did lose it starting Awake, but if he gets any other Mill-type strategies, this is fine. This really can set back your opponent. And it's a 6 mana board wipe. Yeah, can't go wrong with this. It's solid. Very, very solid. I know that there already is cards like this that did exist in Standard before, but one had Surge. Yeah, maybe I'm overvaluing this. Maybe 6 mana is just going to be too much for this deck. But speaking of like Aethersphere Harvester here, or Aethersphere Reservoir, here's a perfect do-nothing card that replaces their current 4 mana one. But beyond just creatures, this returns all planeswalkers, artifacts, enchantments. Everything is gone. But, yep. Ripjaw Raptor, 4 mana. Whenever Ripjaw Raptor is dealt damage, draw a card. So here's another card that pairs with Walking Ballista. It actually does go very nicely. The 4/5 body and the 4 mana makes this a little bit better than the red one, as the draw card's huge. Yeah, I like this with Walking Ballista a ton. So, and it's perfect 4 mana, so you can go turn 1 or turn 2 the Constrictor, turn 3 throw out a Walking Ballista, turn 4 Ripjaw, target with a Walking Ballista counter, and draw a card. And then you have a nice little draw card outlet with the Ripjaw Raptor. Again, the body's great on this. 4/5 for 4 mana. Really good against like even Hour of Devastation. Will at least draw you a card off of it. It survives Sweltering Suns. This would have been really good back in the last format with the -4/-4. Grasp of Darkness, it would survive it. It survives Yehini's Expertise. so you can actually cast that. It doesn't draw you a card off of it. Well, Sweltering Suns gets really cool with this card though, because you'll get a draw card off of like a Sweltering Sun. So in like a red-green control, this is a perfect card. It can chump block and draw a card at that point. Yeah, this is a solid card. There's a lot of good cards spoiled. Revel in Riches, a 5-mana. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token with sacrifice, add a color to mana pool. It's kind of cool. Commander's going to want this because this can ramp up very, very well. I'll put this in my King Makar deck, probably. It's a non-bow with King Makar because King Makar exiles, but in Commander, when other people are destroying other creatures, then this will just give you a lot of gold tokens, basically. And then King Makar, you have a lot of synergies with it. I'm sure any other artifact-based strategy. This gets kind of cool with Tezzeret in Standard at the moment. It gives you a lot of treasures. The being of upkeep, too, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the... Jeez. Look at this board wipe and then add a ton of treasures. So, yeah, treasures in... I really don't like alternative win cons. I think they're kind of cheesy, and this is the same thing. So it gives you actually a win con with that, and yeah, I hate this card, but it probably is gonna be good in decks. Yeah, Tezzeret's where I like it the best. Priest of the Awakening Sun. 1 mana for 1/1 at the beginning of your upkeep. You may reveal a dinosaur card from your hand if you do gain 2 life. Very good against like a burn. Red-based strategies, and sacrifice Priest Awakening, search your library for a dinosaur card. So yes, it can go in a nice little dinosaur tribal if that is relevant in Standard. The 5 mana is great. It's a good sync after you've got some value out of the Priest of the Awakening Sun. Again, against an aggro-based strategy with dinosaurs, go back to like white-green. You reveal this, gain 2 life, reveal this, gain 2 life, reveal this, gain 2 life. You've gained 6 life with 1 dinosaur in your hand before you're ready to cast the Ripjaw. So turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4. So this could have a huge potential. And you don't have to do anything but reveal it. So that is pretty phenomenal. If there is a white dinosaur, could we see this go into like a Soul Sisters build? Sure. And I'm thinking there will be white. There's a white dinosaur. We'll get to it in a second. Yeah. Not bad. I like this card. Maverick Thane, Dusk Apostle. Whenever 1 or more non-token vampires you control attack, create a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink. This will go in all the commander-based decks. Unfortunately, a lot of the vampires just got rotated. They were a huge part in Innistrad. Kaladesh actually does not have many. I think it has a few of the Aetherborn. Yeah, I guess it's got some good ones though. It's got the 2/3 Death Touch vampire, Aetherborn vampire, right? Yeah, it's a vampire, and it's also got Yahini, I believe, is a vampire as well, if I'm remember correctly. But a lot of like the 1-drop vampires rotated. Is there any 1-drops that stuck around? I'm trying to think, and I can't think any of off of the top of my head. We could get some though in this set. But you know, it's a good little, helps some vampire tribal type strategies. We still have the Metallic Mimic, which works really well because it will create all these vampires will then become 2/2s when they come into play. And it only triggers once though per turn. It says whenever 1 or more non-token vampires you control attack. It's kind of cool too because you got to realize that this is very, very similar to like the Hanwar Garrison. They don't come into play tapped and attacking, but you attack with this dude and it will automatically create 1. Unfortunately, it is a legendary creature. Yes, you can build a commander deck out of it, but the legendary is going to really stop this from being a multiple in decks, which kind of sucks because I think it's pretty solid. It's easy to kill though. Shock kills it, and basically all the board wipes kill it as well. Kinjali's Sungwing, 3 mana. Here's our dinosaur flying creature your opponent control enter the battlefield tapped. So we get a sort of a replacement to Thalia, and this one's a good one. I could see like a Death and Taxes deck picking it up. 2/3 flying is good. That's a solid body for 3 mana. All of your opponent's stuff coming into play tapped is a good counter to the Ramen-Up Red at this moment. It does survive shock, and Ramen-Up Red is missing the 3 damage spell. I don't know if they're going to go into open fire. That seems kind of bad to do so. Do they have another 3 mana spell? I'm trying to think what if they have a braid, but I'm seeing a 3 damage spell that also goes to the face because their incendiary flow is rotating. So yeah, both the harness lightning and the abrade do kill this. but they still have to use a removal spell on this. And again, it's got a very solid body. The flying it's very similar to Thalia. 3/2 first strike versus 2/3 flying. And non-basic lands doesn't affect that. So I think Thalia was a little bit better. It isn't legendary though, so it's a lot easier to throw multiples in this deck. Hostage Taker, human pirate, 4 mana for a 2/3. When Hostage Taker enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature until Hostage Taker leaves the battlefield. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though you may have any color to cast it. So that's kind of enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature until hostage leaves the battlefield. You may cast the card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though. So wait a second. I need a ruling on this? So when it dies, if you cast it, do they get it back? When Hostage Taker enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature until Hostage Taker leaves the battlefield. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana. So wait a second. After you cast it, it doesn't become a new card though. So I'm still thinking, even though it changes zones, does it get around? Someone in the comment section, if this has been ruled on, if they kill Hostage Taker, do then they get that back? Because that's huge if not, because it's just removal if you're able to cast it. And it's quite good. It feels very much like Gonti as a way. You get a 2/3 body, you get another card. But yeah, I do need to know the ruling if changing zones does anything with this card. It should, right? I don't know. Someone comment in the comment section. Magic is tough. Not a judge. All right, Herald of Secret Streams. 4 mana for a Merfolk Warrior. Creatures you control with +1 counters on them can't be blocked. That gets kind of cool with maybe Long Tusk Cub. Oh, geez, that's pretty sweet with Long Tusk Cub. Unfortunately, though, 4 mana for a 2/3 is that's pretty steep. That is something that is, for 4 mana, you're looking at cards in the past. What are 4 mana playable cards in the past? Bristling Hydra, Kalidas, Gonti. Those are very high impact cards. This is a card that, yes, you can have Bristling Hydras and Long Tusk Cubs now can't be blocked. Things with Winding Constrictor like Walking Ballista can't be blocked. There's a lot of upside. Rishkar. This actually occurs very nicely with Rishkar because Rishkar comes into play, gives 2 things, +1 with counters, and then those cards can't be blocked the next turn. Sure, there are a lot of things that can actually pair with this. I would have way rather had this in green than blue. Yes, can't be blocked is more of a blue ability, but blue requires you to then splash for it, which might be tough. I know we do have the fast lands, and then we will have the blue-black Drowned Catacombs that will come into play decent with this. But yeah, it's definitely got some merit to it, but I think that instead of 3 mana, this would be very playable at 3. I think at 4 mana, it needed a little bit better body. Maybe a 3/4 for 4 mana, or at least a 3/3, or a 2/4, or a 3/2. Anything better than just a 2/3 here would have made this a lot more playable. All right, the Goring Ceratops. So double strike, 7 mana. Whenever it attacks other creatures, you can gain double strike. Sure, it's a very, very good. If you can cheat in to play a card, like any sort of cheat-in strategy, so looking at you, Godpharaoh's Gift. In fact, I think that only this is the card that this does pair very well with this Godpharaoh's Gift because it also gives it haste. So you want 2 things. You want to cheat this into play and give it haste. So the white-blue Godpharaoh's Gift might want this because then it will give everything double strike that you have on the field. It'll come in as a 4/4 as well, so it will do 8 damage with the Godpharaoh's Gift, and then it will make possibly anything else that you had out. What else does that deck play? Bunch of your 2/1s, bunch of your other cards be double strike. I can't see it being played more as a 1-of, though, in Godpharaoh's Gift, but it definitely cheating into play. This is perfect. Maybe ramping dinosaurs into play, sure, but it's if you're trying to fairly cast this is tough. I don't think it's playable in a deck that's going to try to ramp into it. It's cheat that wants this. We know about Glacial Forest. Star of Extinction. Destroy target land, deals 20 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. It's fine. 7 mana board wipe. Destroys everything. Destroys land as well. Playable. I know Commander's going to want this. Because it is a real board wipe. I'm sure people will throw in Boros Reckoners and Stuffy Dolls and things like that, and it gets kind of fun. But, yeah. Not a bad card. Sorcerer's Spyglass, 2 mana. As it enters the battlefield, look at the opponent's hand. Then choose any card name. Activate abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So this is the card we needed versus like Saheeli combo. And the problem is, though, this is a lot weaker than like a Needle. You can proactively throw out a Needle. There's some advantages and disadvantages to Needle here. Needle, you're kind of in the dark. You have to, like, you name a card out of their deck, and they can't play. You know you shut it down. Sorcerer's Spyglass has the advantage to, oh, I can just name something that I know they're going to be playing. So I can name a Walking Ballista. I can name, what other a Saheeli, for example. I can name a Sky Sovereign Consul's Flagship because it can't crew. I can name a bunch of something that will impact a Bristling Hydra. I can name it lots of things. So this is a very playable card, and it does. I wish it would be 1. 2 is a little bit rough. You want hate cards to be 1, like if it's competing for the Needle in this case, but very, very solid card, and we do need it. This is exactly something that Standard absolutely does want to shut down some of these infinite combos. Marvel, could this unban Marvel? Yes. Marvel at the moment, Nicol Bolas ended up being very, very underwhelming. Marvel at the moment, it does get like Hour Devastation though, so Marvel gets a lot better with that. But I don't think without Ulamog, Marvel's nearly as good of a strategy. There's not as many things to cheat out, and they probably do still want to keep it banned because it was just too good to make energy. But we do have a very, very solid hate card towards Marvel. Same thing to a point with the Scrap Heap Scrounger, or not Scrap Heap, the Smuggler's Copter. There's a ton of hate cards now, Braid, Fatal Push, that could definitely punish those particular, some of the cards on the ban list. Give me a great card against Chandra. Yeah, so solid card. I don't think anything can come off the ban list, though. I wouldn't put it past Wizards, though. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't say invest in any of those cards at the moment. I am slowly putting money into Marvel and the Smuggler's Copter because both those cards see a lot of play in Frontier. So even Frontier is little of a pressure. It's still pressure. And as well, we've seen Marvel hit Modern, and we've seen Smuggler's Copter hit Modern. So just slowly putting, if I find deals like under $1 for Smuggler's Copters and like 50 cents for Marvels, I've been sinking some money into them. But I don't think it's worthwhile to bank on anything coming off the ban list at this point. Sleek Schooner, 3 mana for 4/3 crew 1. So we got vehicles back. Pretty meh. We have better vehicle options, a lot better vehicle options, but we do know they're coming back. Settle the Wreckage, 4 mana. Exile all attacking creatures target player controls. That player may search the library for that many basic lands. So it's a Path to Exile on crack here. Pretty decent. It does ramp up the opponent. You can actually, this is kind of fun. You can do it to yourself. Yep, target player controls. This is going to be really fun with servo tokens. So attacking with a ton of servo tokens. So think of SRAM's expertise into the Weaponcraft Enthusiast. You have 6 tokens on the battlefield. Turn 5. Maybe you have like a few other. Maybe you've cast a servo exhibition before that. Turn 5, you attacking with 8 creatures and use this. Go get 8 basic lands. That's kind of cool. I can't complain about that. Other than, you know, you're wasting a ton of resources there. If you have anything that can, like, think back into the history of Magic. How many, is there a lot of, I know Red especially has a bunch of them, like create X tokens, and then exile them at the end of the turn. That'd be fun with this. If you had some way to create I wonder if there's anything that puts a bunch of 0/1s or something that's very easy to attain, and then you attack in with a bunch of them, and then you just exile them with this Settle the Wreckage. And then you just gain a ton of basic lands. I don't know, maybe it's getting too cute, but there's your challenge. Someone build a deck around that wants to ramp into something. The problem is, again, without Ulamog, we don't have a lot of cards that you absolutely want to ramp into at the moment. Rowdy Crew, 4 mana, trample. Rowdy Crew enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, and discard 2 cards at random. If 2 cards that share a card type are discarded this way, put 2+1/1 counters. I do like the draw 3, discard 2 at random. I am looking for a card for Godpharaoh's Gift for red. Right now, the Godpharaoh's Gift has Cathartic Reunion, but it's gonna get rid of Insolent Neonate. So Rowdy Crew could be a definite replacement, and yeah, unfortunately, it can get some of the cards that you wanted, and maybe it just doesn't draw enough. At the point, it's doing very similar to, it is drawing 3 and discarding 2, so it is netting up a card. But the random is tough, and it could possibly be a 5/5 for 4. So we'll have to wait and see if this is playable. Unfortunately, Madness is out of the mix. You do still have Scrap Heap Scrounger that works good with this, and you still do have Eternalize that works good with this. So there is a few things that pair very well. The Prize Amalgam, this could go with that too, but again, that's rotated. So it might just be a set too late for what it wants to be doing. Prosperous Pirates. Enters the battlefield, create 2 colorless treasure artifact tokens with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Enters 2 of them for 5 mana. Probably not playable in standard, very good limited though. Possibly good limited. It ramps up. So on your turn, it's actually is sort of similar to Hour of Promise if you're trying to get like a Nicol Bolas out the next turn. Because you net up 2 mana here. So turn 6, then you'll have 8 mana available. So any 8 mana spell could definitely. Kopala, Warden of the Waves, 3 mana for 2/2. Spells your opponents cast at target merfolk cost 2 more to cast. Abilities your opponents to activate the target merfolk cost 2 more to activate. Really, really good for merfolk in the sideboard for Fish for Modern. Standard, if there is a merfolk tribal, absolutely. This is pretty tough though. This is your Lords. Does it get rid of Kira Glass Spinner? Might. It might actually replace Kira Glass Spinner. The thing with the Glass Spinner, though, it counters the first spell cast against a creature. This one just makes it more to target. And it does shut down abilities as well. So that's not bad. So, like, take Liliana, for example, in Modern. It's going to be... No, Liliana, the Liliana, +2- or -2/-1. It won't affect the other one. But it's Path to Exiles costs 2 more. Fatal Pushes cost 2 more. Lightning Bolt will cost 2 more. It's solid. I think it's more of a sideboard card, though. I don't think you're just going to jam it in Merfolk. And again, Standard needs a little more help. It does protect itself, though, which is nice. All right, Jace Cunning Castaway. The artwork on this is ridiculous. Oh, jeez. All right, what is this? 3 mana Planeswalkers tend to be broken. Jaces tend to be broken. Here we might have the perfect storm. All right, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player this turn, draw a card, then discard a card. That is rough. Godpharaoh's Gift might want this. They tend to like to run a low creature count, though. And it's, again, 1 or more. You're not getting multiple activations on this. -2 created 2/2 blue illusion creature says whenever this creature becomes a target of a spell, sacrifice it. So it's -2 to try to protect Jace that then can be killed by literally anything, even like a Blossoming Defense. Or does Blossoming Defense say target a creature you control? I can't remember if it does or not. But I'm saying it can be targeted with a pump spell. It is a spell, though, not an ability, so... Create 2 tokens that are copies of Jace Cunning Castaway, except they're not legendary. So he just keeps copying it to do what? This card is garbage. It's absolutely garbage. This is going to be too tough. Yeah, the looting effect does. Like, again, maybe in a blue-green deck, what's our best case scenario? Blue-black, too, we could go into with the Glint Sleeve Siphoner, or the Vampire, the 2/3 Death Touch, Aetherborn. Green has Long Tusk Cub. Possibly red has some early, Boomont Courier type stuff, possibly. But you're looting into what? Yeah, it's helping you fix, for sure. I just do not like this card. I don't like it. It's too vulnerable. Way too vulnerable. All right, the Dinosaur Avatar, 7 mana for... Gishoth, Sun's Avatar. Trample, Vigilance, Haste. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, reveal that many cards in the top of your library, putting a number of dinosaur creatures from among them. on the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library any order. This is your commander card. So here's your dinosaur commander. I don't know if dinosaurs are in other colors. Have we seen a dinosaur that's not in one of these colors? But so Naya dinosaurs. It's 8 mana though. This is rough. And the thing is, it really wants to... Yeah, this is really, really rough. So if Standard has a way to sacrifice to put a dinosaur directly into play, this is good. Could you go God Pharaoh's dinosaurs? Possibly. It really does give you a lot of fuel. If this hits once, Trample Vigilance Haste hits once, it reveals the top 7 cards of your library. And then if you pump it up even more, it will even reveal more. And puts them on the battlefield. So yeah, this is very, very powerful. Unfortunately, it puts them on the battlefield. This is after your attack phase. So ETB effects are really good off dinosaurs. Yeah, we're gonna make it. Of course, we're gonna make it happen. I'm gonna brew around this card and try to make it happen. But right now, God Pharaoh's Gift is probably the best way to do it. The Aetherworks Marvel would have been the next best way. Ramping is the other preferred method. So Hour of Promise, but it's gonna take a lot of work. Fathom Fleet Captain, 2 mana menace. Whenever it attacks, if you control another non-token pirate, you may pay 2 to create a black pirate. So you want a 1-drop that works with this. Takes a lot of work though. It's a good mana dump later on if you have nothing to spend. But on turn of, and it does have menace, so it does have merit there in a deck. But you have to control another non-token pirate, so it can't work off of itself, and it can't work off of a token. So either a 3 mana or a 1 mana, and you're really not going to be using this till turn 4, turn 5, turn 6. Or turn 3, it's very lackluster to spend your mana at that point. Yes, you could keep up like a Fatal Push or a Blossoming Defense, and then use your mana dump to create a 2/2. But it's really, really tough against control. Like typically these type of cards would be good against coming back from board wipes, torrential gear hooks, but you still have to have another creature out. So what this format would need is something like a Mutavault, like a land that turns into a pirate. Something that you can activate to turn into a pirate, an enchantment that turns into a pirate. And then I could see the merit of this coming in as a way to combat like attrition and being able to flood the board with just 2/2 black pirates late game when you have mana to sink into this. But as it stands, it's incredibly vulnerable. Walking Ballista is still a thing in the format. You can get shot down. Liliana's not, but one toughness is still a liability because of Walking Ballista. Entrancing Melody, 2 and X gain control target creature with converted mana cost X. It's fine. You can gain control of some very high impact cards, like the Winding Constrictor. This needed to be instant speed to really be playable, though. 3 mana gets a 3/3, so at that point it can get some decent cards. It starts Compensation Coup, though, probably is just better than this in 9 times out of 10. You can spend this for 3 mana, though, to get a converted mana cost 1 creature. But is there really any... the best converted mana cost 1 creature is Rotating Out, Crypt Breaker. So it's... Yeah, this is tough. This card is... Sideboard, sure. Mana dump way down the road, sure. But think of it, just get like a card you want, like Glorybringer, for example. That's a lot of mana, and Glorybringer will be tapped when you gain control of it. So no, I don't like this card. Emperor's Vanguard, 4 mana for a 4/3. Whenever Emperor's Vampire deals combat damage to a player, it explores. Kind of cool. 4 mana, though. Look what you're competing with. Bristling Hydra. And who cares? It gets a 1/1 counter or a land. At that point, for 4 mana, you need something that is going to be a little more impactful. Kind of gets fun with Speedy Gonzalez. It's kind of nice, again, with the... So what I mean by that is a Bloodlust Insider. It also gets kind of fun with God Pharaoh's Gift, because it'll come in and it will come in with haste, and then will give you some more ammo in the either graveyard. Like if it's a land, you put in your hand. If it's a creature, you put in your graveyard and get a +1 counter on it. So it's kind of cool in that aspect, but for a rare, this seems very lackluster. Limited, it's fine though. There's a Drowned Catacomb in the Dragon School Summit. The Dreamcaller Siren. Wow, this video is getting very, very long. 4 mana, flash flying. Dreamcaller Siren can block only creatures with flying. Whenever Dreamcaller Siren enters the battlefield, if you control another pirate, tap up to 2 target non-land permanents. So that's kind of cool. It can tap down blockers. But flash flying, it can actually tap down attackers. But this is another... once again, we have this another pirate clause. which is really, really tough to set up. You're going to find in Standard how tough this is. But it is fun. It's really, really cool because it not only taps down the attackers, but it also taps down potential blockers on their turn. So they try to go to their attack step, tap 2 things down. Then you go to your turn, you can swing in with a 3/3 and some other pirates. And yeah, you can chain this off too. It's something that does have flicker abilities. So it is playable. Very good and limited. Deeproot Champion, 2 mana. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1 counter on Deeproot Champion. Oh, this is very similar to like Mana Gorge or Hydra. It only works off you though. Very kind of cool with Walking Ballista, Winding Constrictor type +1 counter deck. It gets really out of control with but a lot of your cards in that deck are actually going to be creatures. You do have like Fatal Push that you'll be running in those type of decks that can make it bigger. But I don't know. Usually these have typically been good whenever a player casts a non-creature spell. Put a +1 counter. You could some sort of Stormish deck. I mean, of course, blue or red would rather have this than green. Green is typically a creature-based deck, and in this case, it's not going to. You're going to be casting a lot of creatures and not a lot of non-creatures. So for that case, this card is pretty garbage. Again, what are you going to do in two? A lot of I don't even actually like this in Winding Constrictor now that I think about it, because your 2 mana spells are your really good cards, the Long Tusk Cub, your Winding Constrictor, your Glint Sleeve Siphoner. This just doesn't have any room for it. There we go. There's our 1 mana pirate. See if it's actually decent. Deadeye Tracker, 1 mana, 1/1. 2, exile 2 target cards from your opponent's graveyard, and Deadeye Tracker explores. Sure, it's not bad. You know what's really, really good about this is its anti-graveyard hate. This is pretty good versus the Torrential Gearhulk when they try to flashback a spell. You exile it, and then it is nice to either put +1/+1 counters on it. It grows. It's tough though because it's very low impact in your main. It's a good sideboard card. Gets rid of Scrap Heap Scroungers, gets rid of Godpharaoh's Gift type cards. I mean, it's solid. This is going to be a nice sideboard card. Pirate decks may just want it because it's a 1/1 for 1. Yes, it can get bigger, can become a 2/2, 3/3, but spending 2 mana and tapping a card is not what you want to be doing. Can find you a pseudo draw and pseudo scry. Then put that card back or put in your grid. Yeah, so it does have scry. Deadeye Tracker, or these Explorer is a even more powerful scry ability. So you either put it on your bottom, or you put it on keep it on the top, or you put it in your graveyard. So yeah, that's actually not bad. Now I'm thinking about it. It can set up your draws quite well. Yeah, and it can actually set up the Orc Pirate. Wasn't that a pirate? The one that dealt damage equals converted mana cost when you attacked with a creature. It can set that up so that you actually do hit a decent little draw. Daring Saboteur, 2 mana for 2/1. Here's another good pirate that's a 2 mana cost 1. It can't be blocked for 3 mana and deals combat damage to player. You draw a card, then discard a card. Nice little loot ability. That's actually pretty decent. I like this card. It loots. Godpharaoh's Gift will probably want it. The blue version. Yeah, I would say that it would. As it still does have to connect, though. Maybe it wouldn't. Giving it unblockable is nice with it later on for 4 damage. All right, Captain Lannery. Captain Lannery Storm. 3 mana. Haste. Whenever it attacks, create a colorless treasure artifact. Sacrifice, add 1 mana. Okay, it works with the treasures. Whenever you sacrifice treasure, it gets +1 material until end of turn. Not bad. Not bad at all. So this is basically a 3/2 attacker. 3/2 haster for 3 mana. Every turn if you want it to be. Or you can build up the mana later on. So this is pretty cool. I don't know. It does synergize with that other pirate that allows you to pay 2 mana to put a pirate into play, because at least you'll get 1 clue token, artifact token to sacrifice in. If you stack the triggers properly, I believe that you can pay for it. So pretty good. It's legendary again though. So a lot of the red decks will probably want a 1 of, I would say. But the Crop Captain though is a 3/2 haster by itself. Yeah, so actually this does look pretty lackluster if you're going to be sacking the artifact tokens. So, I mean, it does ramp you from 3 to 5 the next turn. So on turn 4, you'll have 5 mana available with that artifact. And again, anything that deals with artifact tokens. Reckless Fireweaver, for example, anything that has an ETB effect with whenever an artifact comes into play works with this, which is pretty sweet. So there is merit there. but I'm not sure if there's enough to make this like better than the red cards that already exist in this particular slot. Burning Sun's Avatar, when it enters the battlefield, deals 3 damage to target opponent and 3 damage up to 1 target creature. This is the whole reason to trying to put the God Pharaoh's Gift into red. I think this is actually solid at 6 mana too. Like in a red control based deck, it's a 6/6 for 6 that it's very similar to Inferno Titan, I would say. It can't split the damage, but it has Searing Blaze on a stick or on a creature on an ETB effect. So this is something that can be flickered. I mean, Eldri's Displacer would have loved this card. And the body is nothing to, it survives Hour of Devastation, which is huge because you can use Hour's Devastation in your own deck. And it's very similar to even what Torrential Gearhulk a lot of times does with like a Harness Lightning. So it actually blocks Torrential Gearhulks. The triple red is tough. And what made Inferno Titan so good is then you got the ability every time you attacked as well. So I do like it. Again, God Pharaoh's Gift is a great place to put it. Liliana reanimating this is a pretty nice card as well. We still have Cathartic Reunion in these type of decks. So I do like this Burning Sun's Avatar. Bloodcrazed Paladin, 2 mana for a Flash Vampire Knight. Flash in black. Wow. Bloodcrazed Paladin enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each creature that died this turn. Kind of fun in Commander. You board wipe and then flash in and it gets a lot of +1/+1 counters. Very lackluster in my opinion. A knight that doesn't have first strike too. This guy's pathetic. I think it's one of the only knights in existence that doesn't have first strike. Does have flash though. Yeah, I don't know. This card's kind of awkward. And you can use it with your own creatures. And Bishop of Rebirth, 5 mana, Vigilance. Whenever Bishop of Rebirth attacks you, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand or to the battlefield. See, they're kind of reprinting the Titans in fixed versions. This is not a Sun Titan. It's close, but it's not. It doesn't have the answer for the battlefield. This is something where I think God Pharaoh's Gifts will like this for the blue-white. I know I keep talking about God Pharaoh's Gifts a lot, but this is perfect for it because it comes in as a, you mill it, then it comes in as a 4/4, then it returns the 2/1, the champion back, and then you get more ammo. And there are a lot of cards with converted mana cost 3 creature cards that are good at this point. It can chain pretty decently with Renegade Rallier. So you return Renegade Rallier, and if you've had Revolt that turn, you return something else. So you come back with a huge board state after this attacks. But without the ETB, I'd rather have this have an ETB ability than an attack ability. But I mean, it's good. Commander's going to love this. Converted mana cost 3 or less, only affects creatures too. Some of Sun Titan's favorite targets were non-creatures. Like Evolving Wilds or a fetch land, for example, or like an expedition map. What other things about it? The seals. I use the seals a lot with the Sun Titan. It can get back a lot of cards that want to sack themselves, or your opponent has to take care of. Arcane Adaptation, 3 mana enchantment. As Arcane Adaptation enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type are that in addition to their types. The same is true for creature cards you control and creature cards that you own that are on the battlefield. Oh, yay! My Hakon gets another awesome card, and it is in blue. There is one that also changes the creature type. I've had Hakon in what is it called? Evolution. Something's Evolution. It's a 1 mana spell. So the combo with Hakon is use the Ashes of the Fallen, and then with Hakon, you're able to cast everything from your graveyard because everything becomes knights in addition to its type. And then you can just have unlimited cast from your graveyard. It allows for a lot of infinite combos with cards like Walking Ballista, for example, becomes an infinite combo because you can cast it for 0. And if you have anything that, like, when it dies, like Blood Artist, deals the damage to opponent. And then you have a lot of infinite combos with, like, there's so many cards that work with the Hakon combo. So this gives us another combo with it. I'll have to revive my deck, my Hakon deck. Really, really fun. And Arcane Adaptation works perfectly with it. And it'll give me 3 ways to get the combos off now, rather than just the Artificer's evolution. I think is something's evolution, but it changes the creature type. All right, so the Angrath's Marauders, 7 mana for... Oh, also, yeah, wonder if there's any cool things that this can be done in Standard. Anything that have creature types right now. You can name everything horses, give them indestructible, but everything dinosaurs. So the dinosaur... Wrong colors, though, for that specific dinosaur. Angrath's Marauder, 7 mana for 4/4. If a source you would control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. So it's got it's on a 7 mana card. This might go in my Nahab deck. It is very costly, though, at 7. Yes, Nahab's good at ramping stuff out, but that's a lot of mana to throw on one card for things that traditionally could do it for a lot less. Deadeye Tormentor. Did we go back to Innistrad all of a sudden? With the Deadeye Navigator? Deadeye Tormentor raid. Whenever Deadeye Tormentor is battlefield, if you attacked with a creature this turn, target opponent discards a card. We had this last time in the form of a warrior. So this is fine. It's a nice little discard. It's a great limited card. Carnage Tyrant, 6 mana for a 7/6, can't be countered, trample hexproof. Awesome dinosaur. This is a very, very good, very, 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 very good counter to Torrential Gearhulk. It survives everything Torrential Gearhulk does. So it survives Our Promise, survives being countered, is the same turn Torrential Gearhulk wants to come out. It blocks Torrential Gearhulk and does not die, and has trample and hexproof. This is a win-win-win-win-win for green decks to combat. You will see this in sideboards. Every green sideboard should be throwing this in. The Winding Constrictor deck included. This is your Silver Bullet versus Torrential Gearhulk. Very, very good card. Yeah, it survives everything. Boneyard Parlay. 7 mana, X up to 5 target creature cards from your graveyard. An opponent separates those cards in 2 piles. Put all cards from the pile of your choice onto the battlefield in your control, and the rest into their owner's graveyard. From graveyard. So Boneyard Parlay is a little bit better than some of the old reanimation spells because it can go from any graveyard. But typically this is like more of a commander-based card. And for 7 mana, most of them just return everything. Think of Liliana's... What's the Liliana one? Rise of the Dark Realms. It's just about as easy. How much does that cost? 8? Doesn't Rise 6 and 2? And you can get everything back from all graveyards? Yeah, not nearly as good. This is kind of a weak card. Ugh. It will give you another one, though. So it'll be an addition to most of those cards that you'll be playing your commander. It's only 5, though, and you'll end up getting 2 to 3. Ashes of the Aberrant. 2 mana. Players can't cast spells from graveyards or activate abilities of cards in graveyards, and whenever a creature dies, you gain 1 life. This is a really, 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 really solid card against... it doesn't actually work for God Pharaoh's Gift, so it's very similar to Cage. So Modern's going to love this a lot. Other than, again, it doesn't... It says you can't cast spells from graveyards or activate abilities of cards in graveyards. It doesn't prevent cards from coming back from graveyards. So Dredge, it doesn't affect. It affects a few cards like Conflagrate from Dredge. So yeah, it also affects Flashback. So this is an anti-storm card again, as they can't cast their card from their graveyard. So yeah, it's a another great sideboard slot, but is Rest in Peace just better at this point? I mean, you can still have like a graveyard strategy of your own that doesn't, like Eternal Witness can still get cards back from your graveyard. So, and the other clause of whenever a creature dies, you gain a life is nice as well. But yeah, it's I don't know if Modern really cares too much about it because it already has cards in place that do a better job of just hosing the graveyard. And if they kill this, what makes Rest in Peace so good too against like Living End and Dredge is that Rest in Peace is a proactive hate card. It exiles their graveyard, and then every card that goes in their graveyard goes away. Whereas Ash of the Aberrant, just the cards stick in place until eventually Dredge draws into a Nature's Claim and gets rid of it. So I don't think that actually is going to be as playable. So maybe Standard, whereas this card will shine against Scrap Heap Scroungers, possibly against Torrential Gearhulks, possibly, but it can still be easily dealt with and then combos happen. So not quite sure if I like it. And last but not least, over an hour-long video is Admiral Beckett Brass. Other pirates get +1/+1 at the beginning of event step, gain control of target non-land permanent controlled by a player who has dealt combat damage with 3 or more pirates. Really, really fun commander card. Seems to me like it's going to be too much of a setup for standard. It is in the colors they want, but it requires 1 color of each. So it'd be very, very tough to get out on time. A lot of times these lands will come into play tapped at that point. As you know, the fast lands will come into play tapped at this point, and of course the fast lands don't synergize with the check lands, and therefore this guy is going to be insanely hard to get out on time. But yeah, that's all she wrote. So far, this set is looking to be an insanely fun card. There are powerful cards. There are synergistic cards. There are very, very interesting brew cards, and really exciting cards that actually pair up well with cards that already exist in standard at the moment. So far, like Carry Zev looks good as an investment. A lot of the cards that I really like Green-Black Constrictor. A lot of cards synergize very, very well with the Green-Black Constrictor type strategy. Be looking at like Hour of Promise Red control decks for the Burning Sun Avatar. The dinosaurs are looking good because the Burning Sun's Avatar is solid, so is the Carnage Tyrant. So if you do have a way to cheat out Gishath Sun's Avatar, it's just definitely is a win. Hour of Promise is probably still the best way to do so. You did lose Nissa's Expedition though, or Nissa's, whatever Nissa's Renewal. And so we do need some better ramp cards to get there. But all in all, it's looking to be a good set and a fun set. And it was kind of cheesy. They went dinosaurs and pirates and things, but again, I don't care too much about the lore. I like how the game actually works, and this looks like a bomb of a really, really good set so far. So 2 thumbs up so far. Let me know in the comment section below what your favorite card spoiled so far is. What is mine? I don't know. As far as cards I want to play with, Carnage Tyrant, because I hate Torrential Hulk, and it's going to give me a very, very good very, very good way to counter that deck. And favorite card to brew around, probably Sunbird's Invocation. The sky's the limit with this card. Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.